color grading is always a challenge, especially if you're new to it. So what Dehancer Pro is a OFX plugin film simulation tool. For over a year now, I've been using the Resolve Color Management, which essentially comes down to this page. So I shoot everything in log, and I use many different types of cameras depending on the job. But basically over here I've set it to custom, and you can see that the input color space is S-Log3 because a big bulk of this footage is in S-Log3. And timeline color space is set to DaVinci White Garment because I'm using a reference monitor. And then I just want to make sure the output color space is set to Rec 709. So once that is done, you will actually not see the flat log image, but already quite a good starting point. But if you look at the parade, you can see here that there is a bit lacking. So I started with a balance, and basically I put a bit more contrast. But I didn't want to go all the way down, and I don't want to do any fancy power window for this demo. But I think you get the gist of it, of what I just did. Alright, so it's a big difference. And then one thing though, when Dehancer is applied, I find that the skin tone does get diluted a little. It's a bit flat, so I actually add a little bit of saturation here. So you could see that her skin is a little bit more lively. You can say it's a bit red, but don't judge it first. Let's put on Dehancer. So when you come to Dehancer, the interface is like this. It's basically the input sector is very important, and what I really appreciate is that they have this DVR white garment intermediate. So if you are using the color management, this is the perfect workflow. Obviously it works with Aces as well, but if you want to, you're not working with that and you're using a color transform, you can, or alternatively you can choose camera, and over here you can just choose whatever camera that you're using. Fuji is a bit lacking, so that is a feedback for our friends to add more Fuji stuff. Even Blackmagic is a little lacking, but I do think that I highly recommend the color management workflow. You see, alright, S52 is there. That's good. So let's go back to my garment. Right, so all these things I leave them untouched because I want to leave all these things on separate notes for more control. I'm not gonna go through everything because, to be honest, I don't know everything because I didn't shoot on film. But what I can tell you is that the key portion is here, and this is where the magic is. So let's first turn on the plugin, and you can see instantly there's a huge difference in the looks. Okay, now you see that her skin tone looks a bit yellowish. I don't really like that. You need to do some work on it, but yeah, I guess you get what it does. So this is the part where you choose all your different film stocks, and yeah, you will see the difference very instantly, and this actually looks pretty nice. Oh, okay, I prefer this XR25. Okay, so besides this, when you do this, it's pretty much like a, I would say it's more like a simple LUT, some sort of. But the magic is not just this. The magic is the option to add in stuff like film grain. And this is a very strong characteristic of film. And if you look at it now, you can see it's so obvious. But is that too much? Yeah, don't worry, we can deal with that. If it's too much, you can just go custom and take it down. Okay, you can reduce the size, you can reduce the amount to 10 if you find it's too much. So, now it's a lot more subtle. Alright, so these are all very customizable. And then halation is basically, it puts a bit of fringing. You can almost say it's something like a fringing effect, and it has a bit more red. So if you watch here, once you turn it on, you can see there's a bit of more red in the mid-tones. Yeah, so that is something that's pretty nice. Bloom, I didn't enable it here because I shot this with this particular shot with a mist filter, but the option is there. And you have other stuff like film damage, which has a little bit of artifacts along the way. The rest, film breath with, I don't really know what they do, but I think the breath is kind of like a bit of movement of the footage, so I don't turn them on. Vignette can be useful at times if you really want to focus on the subject, but just remember, the more you put on, the heavier it is on processing power. As you can see, when I play it back, it's okay. Yeah, it's getting kind of jammed up. Look at the frames; it's very slow. So, I would highly recommend. I'm on a Mac M1 for your information. I would recommend that under playback, turn on the render cache to smart. So this will help you a lot. And obviously, try to do this at the end. All right, and yeah, lastly would be this monitor part is also very interesting. It gives you an opportunity to look at the image with false colors to help you do your color correction. So it's not too bad. I think the image is not too bad. And then output, yeah, this is the part that you can actually reduce the amount of the effect. If you want it to look very gentle, like LUT-ish thing. So you see, this is quite subtle. It actually looks quite nice. And the skin tone is not so affected. And it looks pretty good. So yeah, so this is the first part where the overview of the Dehancer. Now the other thing that I was considering when I did this trial was, would it work with all cameras? So you have seen that there are a lot of cameras here, like this one is a C70 with the C-Lock, wrong, this is actually R5C with C-Lock 3, and then obviously the Sony A7S III stuff. And what I'll say is that for raw stuff, it actually works quite well. In fact, I feel that it looks better with raw codecs. Like this one is the Nikon Z9N RAW, and this is the Red Coat RAW. It looks pretty good in my opinion. Right, I mean that's at 70% now, so obviously it looks, no, it's 80. Let's take it down 30%. Take a look at it. Very subtle, very nice. So it could be, it's really up to you, your choice, how heavy-handed you want to be. In particular, I feel that Blackmagic BMD footage looks the best, if not, yeah, one of the best. This is at 70%, but it still looks awesome. So it's very, very interesting. It really depends on what cameras you're working with, but yeah, I think you get a gist of it. That's not all. It even has an app now that works very similarly to the plugin, and it works with both stills and video. So as you can see here, it has all the film stocks just like the plugin, and you can also do some fine editing. One thing though, I could not find the ability to dial back the highlights or recover the shadows, so that is quite glaring for what you want to do. And do take note that this app is purely for the purpose of color grading. So if you're using other apps, for example CapCut, it must be a final version that you import here to do your color grading. So that's I would say that I personally would probably use it more as a photo editor rather than video, because it's a bit cumbersome to go two steps. Yeah, but that aside, it really has a lot of customization, bloom, vignette, all the features that you find is available here. But the most scary part, of course, is the price. And they're trying to do a subscription model here, which is not very nice. If you look at it, 1 year goes for 130 Sing dollars and a lifetime goes for 600 Sing dollars, which is actually a similar price to the OFX plugin. In conclusion, I feel that everyone will compare this with Film Convert. But Film Convert is very different in the sense that it is camera based. You have to download the correct pack, and it has a lot less film stocks as well as only grain on top of the colors. When you look at Dehancer, they have put in a lot of effort to consider all the different details about actual film, and the ability to work in DaVinci Resolve color management workflow, whether is it ACES or DVR white garment, is very, very useful for my workflow. I would say that all this, of course, comes at the price of a heavier processing, which slows down your workflow. But that's not something that cannot be mitigated. And of course, the most painful part is the 3 times higher price as compared to Film Convert. Do take note that the price will be increased from $3.99 to USD $4.49 very soon, and you only have a few more days to grab it while you can. So I would say that if you are a professional, I would say that Dehancer is definitely worth investing. But if you're a hobbyist and not really making too much money from what you do, then maybe I'll give it a pass. As usual, I hope this has been useful. Till the next time, bye bye.